Can't even fathom the daily frustration that you face. Your husband has been there for 2 years with no trial. Tell us.
Yeah, so he's been incarcerated for 2 years. We're still awaiting trial. He was a law enforcement officer for 7 years on January 6th, and he was trying to save Roseanne Boylan's life.
Right.
That all is on video that they won't allow into the court for him to get bond to come home awaiting trial.
I'm so sorry. Jeez, it's just, you keep thinking they'd make some kind of progress. And the way that these J6ers are being treated, like your husband was an officer, he was trying to save someone's life, and he's being treated, you know, worse than serial killers, really, when you think about it. So what now? What's your next step? Because we've been tracking what's going on. I can't even imagine what this is like for you and your family.
So actually, it's pretty wild to think about. We've been in this for 2.5 years now, and the longest sentence is about to be handed down as we speak to the leader of the Proud Boys. And the government's asking for 33 years for a man who wasn't even there that day, because they are allowed to do and say whatever they want in these courtrooms. The prosecution's allowed to lie. The judge is literally allowed to say whatever they want, and they are getting away with it because there's no oversight. We have people in Congress that say they support us, and they tell us everything that we want to hear, but then there's no action behind their words. And that's more of the frustrating part, I think, for us, because you would have told me on January 5th that this would have happened, and I'd have believed you, because I knew our government was nefarious, but I didn't think that they would still be there 2.5 years later, because we don't have enough people with backbone in our government to stand up and say, you wouldn't allow us to do it to your people and BLM and Antifa and the Summer of Love, like you're not doing it to ours. Yet they sit in their backyard. They sit in their backyard in D.C. and get treated terribly day in and day out. They didn't get to see their loved ones for 2 years. I mean, just your American God-given rights are just thrown out the window.
Yeah, it's been deplorable. I mean, people are presumed guilty, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of, like, proving that you're, you know.
Well, they're judged by a day on the calendar versus their actions that day. And it's a 99.4 conviction rate right now. So we have to stop lining these defense attorneys' pockets, because it doesn't matter how much you pay for them, they're still losing the cases. And so we have to take it to the next level and take it to the appellate court. And you asked what the next steps are. I'm the executive director of Stand in the Gap Foundation, and one of the things we do through that is justice reform. And that's what we have to do for these guys. Is they stood in the gap for us on January 6th, and they went to air their grievances about a stolen election, and now their whole life has been, you know, destroyed in every aspect. So we, the American people, need to stand behind them and fund them to do this the correct way, to get justice.
I think it's... I think it's easier to live our daily lives and to maybe not tell everybody we know about the crazy things that are happening that I think most Americans really don't understand with the J6 prisoners. But let me ask you this. When you talk about this experience from your perspective, from your husband's perspective, from your family's perspective, tell us that part of it that makes it personal, that makes it so that everyone in this room can relate and understand. What do you wish people understood that they don't?
That these are everyday Americans that, in my eyes, are heroes, that have been locked away for 2.5 years, that don't know their fate, yet they still sing the national anthem every single night at 9 o'clock, no matter what is going on that day, whatever happened in their personal life or went on with their cases. They still have this American spirit embodied in them, and we, the American people, need to come behind them and write to them through the Patriot Mail Project. You can get their addresses and send them something in the mail encouraging them. Because as you know, somebody was just indicted, and 2 weeks later he took his own life because he couldn't handle the weight. There's nothing bigger than when you walk into the courtroom and they say the United States of America versus so-and-so.
Yeah.
You just feel like the size of an ant. And a lot of these people don't even have anybody in the courtroom to support them. So we have Michelle Whithoff, who's Ashley Babbitt's mom, and Nicole Reffitt with For Ashley, and they sit in the courtroom to support these families, that they are literally in the fight of their life, and they need to know that the American people stand behind them in every aspect, because the government is trying to break them. They know that if they are not locked away, they are afraid of what they would do, because we have rights, we have a constitution, and we have a Declaration of Independence that we should be following, and we're not.
Yeah.